There are a lot of things that are going to come to head that I think is going to accelerate Bitcoin to all-time highs, past all-time highs. I think we'll go for the...
As transparent as Bitcoin looked, it made me skeptical, right?
I think I got in about $87, $89 a Bitcoin.
This is why we still say it so early.
The cat is out the bag. It's going to be one of these coins. There were signs to tell you Mt. Gox was going down.
Where do you see the market going between now and July next year? What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you're tuned in from. Welcome to BitLab Academy. We're going to be diving into a conversation with a friend of mine in the space. I've been watching him for a long time, Mr. Crypto Blood himself. How you doing? How you feeling? How the hell did you get here to Atlanta? What are you doing here?
No, man. I just kind of stumbled upon this great city that you guys have. Great traffic, you know.
Primo.
Love it, love it. But it's been fun, man. The tour, you guys got like 32,000 square feet of space. It's insane. I didn't think it was going to be like this.
Content factory, and we were happy to have people like you here, you know, different creators. For those of you that don't know Crypto Blood, he's one of the people among the first few content creators that I started following and watching in the space years ago. I mean, you've been doing this since 2017?
Yes.
Was it before? So you're among the first.
I guess. I don't know.
There's only a handful of people.
I guess there are only, so you're right. I mean, when I got in, I was looking at Andreas Antonopoulos for a lot of info. I got into, started the channel because I wanted to just express my happiness that I finally got my dad into crypto. I've been begging him for about 3 years, almost as long as I had been in it at that point. So like in 2014, after playing with it, getting an understanding of what's going on, I'm like, Dad, I was telling everyone, actually my peers, my guys I smoke cigars with and everything.
That's back when everybody still thought we were crazy for talking about it. It wasn't until post
16, 17.
17 for about 6 months. And then the market crashed. And then it was, you're crazy again. It took all the way until around after March 2020.
You're right.
Until it started being okay to talk about without people looking at you cross-eyed.
You look on CNBC every day, because I always watch CNBC in the morning, trashing it, Bitcoin, back in 2013, 14, 15, 16. It was a kind of toggle. Yeah, it was good. Then they'll switch, you know, the Jim Cramer. Yeah. And they'll go back and forth, flip-flop.
The bobbleheads.
And then as you know, you get into 17, now the narrative is changing. But in the early days, man, it was just, I would just shake my head because I knew this technology was game changing. And so, I started the channel just as the first upload, just excited, telling everyone I was going to tell my dad, or show him, I should say, how to set up this crypto.
I mean, that's an exciting story, I think, for each one of us as we go through our own journey. We all, in different aspects of our life, have that aha moment ourselves.
Yep.
We feel a little bit crazy, but we stick with it long enough. If we do stick with it long enough, we achieve either some sort of success or some sort of comfort in the knowledge that we do have. So really seeing it broadcast out into the future and forecasting what can happen, and then being able to share with somebody else. So before we go any further, I just want to let everybody out there know, one, we appreciate you being here, and I'm happy that you're here with us.
Yes.
Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drive the crypto engagement up, because it doesn't just help this channel, it helps Crypto Blood's channel, it helps crypto in general. So I wanted to ask you, because you've been in a little bit longer than I have. And for anybody out there, whether they've been in a week, a month, a year, just curious, we're gonna be going through a little bit like what your origin story was getting into crypto, and then a couple of the key lessons you learned along the way. So how about we just start that? What brought you to crypto, and why'd you stay, especially early on when it was such a questionable thing? What gave you that courage?
For people to understand, like my background, I come from a technical background. I went to school for software engineering. A lot of people may not know that. Like I know how to program and things, and also I've always been into trading, finance. I told you earlier, Forex is something I've been into very deeply for many years. So when I saw the concept on Zero Hedge, I immediately, literally, Kelly, I went that night. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, got out the bed, went up to CVS.
So what's this?
And bought my first 5 Bitcoins. And so when I saw that it wasn't a scam, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, the next day I went and bought another 5. And the rest has been history since then. But I just knew, it was really, for me, it was, I think during the 08 crisis is when I started to deep dive into what is the banking system? What is the monetary system? How does it actually work? Because if it works, then why is it all crumbling? So the veil was lifted for me in 2008. I had time. I had gotten laid off as a web developer, and I had time to really deep dive into that. So from 2008 all the way up to 2013, when I got into Bitcoin, it was just a lot of learning and researching and figuring out how the mechanics of this whole financial system works. Yeah, that's what led me up to it, having that kind of technical background and the finance.
So would you say then, because I feel like I went on a very different but almost parallel journey with this idea that I used to be this, I hate to use this term, but a blind patriot, where, you know, I'm ex-military, I was in the Air Force. I've always, I think you similarly probably, I was raised to sort of trust those people that are in charge, right? They're making the, and especially in the last 5 years, before that, but especially in the last 5 years, I feel exactly the words you used are perfect. The veil has been lifted. And, you know, it was about 2014, 2015 for me when I really started looking, and it had something to do with the 2008 housing crisis, but I started really questioning the value of the different things in the world and this speculative nature that all these things are based off of.
Right.
And so when Bitcoin first came into my sort of awareness, it kind of re-highlighted all these doubts I had, and as transparent as Bitcoin looked, it made me skeptical, right? But then it put a real lens on how untransparent everything else is.
That's right. Good point. I agree. And you know, when I found out about Bitcoin through that article on Zero Hedge, it was saying that it was a decentralized peer-to-peer money. I hadn't read the white paper at all at that point. But I'm just like, what? Like, this is not controlled by the Bank of Japan. This is not controlled by, you know, the Bank of China or the U.S. Central Bank. Oh, okay, this is something that's going to change the game. I wasn't thinking necessarily price. I just knew it was something that would definitely change the game in the monetary system and give us as citizens some power. That's what enticed me. And I mean, I tricked off on a lot of those early Bitcoins playing Satoshi dice, you know, sending coins back and forth to the smart contract. But it was an experiment back then. Even then, I think I got in about $87, $89 a Bitcoin. Even at that point, it was the world's most expensive currency.
Yeah.
Think about it. There was no other coin that was 87 to a dollar.
Right. It's most of it's the inverse of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of it's 1 to 37 or 1 to 50.
Exactly. So even then at 87, it was pretty expensive. So I didn't go all in because I'm like, how is this the most expensive price currency against the US dollar? Yeah, that's what interests me, man. I love the idea of a decentralized money.
So you get in.
Yep.
You're buying 5 Bitcoins at a go. So for any of you out there watching going, man, he must have been balling. He's out there buying 5 Bitcoins at a time. This is why we still say it so early, because 5 Bitcoin then was, you were spending about $450, $500. So we feel like it's so expensive because it's 26,000, 28,000, this range we're in. Even when it was at 64,000, people feel like it's expensive. And all of us, you, me, other people that have been in this space for a long time, we see the projection of where things are very likely to go. It's not just like a full speculation. There is speculation involved, but the projections show, based on adoption curves with the internet and other technologies, that
the Z curve, is that what you?
The S curve.
The S curve.
Yeah.
S curve.
There's so much room to grow, and so much like you bought 5 Bitcoin for under $500.
Yep.
We can't look at that now, and I don't want anybody out there to be like, well, but now it's so expensive, I can only get X amount for $500 now. We're so early on this adoption. Yeah. So you came in, you were able to do that.
Again, I was thinking that at $87. So yeah, it's easy. Hindsight is 2020. You can, rationalize it that way. But as you stated, even today at 27, wherever we are in Bitcoin, it pales in comparison to where it's going to be, in my opinion, if we continue down this trajectory with the Federal Reserve's irresponsibility.
$24 trillion in debt taken on since 2008.
Saw a billboard last night, actually, going to the Hawks game. Billboard right downtown. national debt, 33 trillion, 38 trillion, something like that.
It's 33.8.
33.8 at the time of recording. $100,000 per citizen, not working person, per baby, TJ's baby, your baby, my baby, $100,000 in debt. If we split that across everyone. It's just unsustainable. And I think if Bitcoin isn't it, the cat is out the bag. It's going to be one of these coins that you're going to see go parabolic.
No, so I agree. And you just mentioned the irresponsibility of the fiscal spending of all these big words we're talking about government, but we always need to take a moment and point the finger back at ourselves. So I want you right now, I'm gonna hold you accountable for a moment. Point the finger back at yourself, and if you would, share, you just talked about, gambling away or playing the 5 Bitcoin into the dice game.
Yep.
That's an example, but talk us through maybe 1 or 2 of your biggest mistakes early on in Bitcoin, whether it's trading, whether it's misallocation, whether it's safety. Talk us through it. What'd you learn from it? What could people take away from it so they don't fall in that same little?
Ironically enough, I didn't get, I never did one of those send Bitcoin to the wrong address or anything like that, because I was already in tech. So I already knew to be, when you're sending something or you double check, things. Never had that issue. I would say maybe the Satoshi dice games, that was really early. I was like literally maybe a month into Bitcoin, I was doing that. Another regret I would say is that I should have not put so much money into the mining. So let me just kind of put you through how my timeline. So I got into Bitcoin, 84, 89 bucks a coin. It goes to 1,000. Okay.
A meager 10x.
A meager 10x, which you wasn't getting that anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we all know you can do that sometimes. We're getting lucky with these degen projects and stuff, but 10x. So I take that money. Thank God I was out of Mt. Gox, because there were signs. People just weren't paying attention. There were signs to tell you Mt. Gox was going down, and I saw it. So I moved my coins off there, went over to BTCE, was another exchange at that time. I think I put too much money into the mining, and that didn't pan out like I thought it would. I bought some rigs, or built some, but then as we went into like script and then Dogecoin, Litecoin, those script tokens, when the ASICs hit the game, I spent a lot of money on building my own rigs, and I had to now sell those rigs. To me,
you can never keep up with technology, and you're also buying the stuff. You're buying the gear that actually was the top profitable mining rigs 6 or 8 months ago for the larger big money players.
Yes, you're right. You will buy these rigs, these ASICs, and you will wait 2 months or a month, and they would be pre-mining. They would mine your rig, then send it to you, saying they're testing. Long story short, I spent a lot of money on that. And when 2015-16 came around, it was just flatline. And you got to remember, this is the first mining cycle. So this is hindsight, of course, but then you didn't know that things were going to pick back up, difficulty rates were going to drop, then everything was going to.
There was no historical analysis because you didn't have a previous cycle.
No,
it literally was speculation.
There was a site called Mine Wars or Trade Wars or something like that I would use to punch in numbers. But yeah, I spent a lot of money on that, and then when the bear market came and it lasted for a decent amount of time, I just forgot about the rigs and never continued that rat race, if you want to call it. You got to keep going with it. If you're going to be committed to mining, you got to keep going.
And what about, you said that you were involved in investing in trading, especially you mentioned Forex.
Yes.
How much of that carried over into trading when you got involved with crypto? And did any of the process or types of analysis or tools or strategies that you're using for that fail? Has there been a change in the way you're seeing things play out and price action as the market matures? Because the reason I ask is because there's obviously a huge amount of difference in the market caps and the types of assets between this and some Forex market. So the hit rate of certain pattern breakouts, or I don't know what type style trading you do, but did it carry pretty direct over?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because if I'm discretionarily trading or doing TA in the discretionary way, it's the same. You can map that to any asset class. A trend line is a trend line is a trend line. Every market. So it translated perfectly. There's no issue there. Now, I've seen over the years, it definitely has calmed down, actually. It was even wilder back then. Like the moves were crazy.
Like the impulsive volatility swings?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So it's more of a steady, even though we're at a 6-year low in Bitcoin's volatility, it's still measured and it's still kind of like, okay, we're dwindling down to the, but then it was just like up, down, flat line, up. It was just all over the place. And it seems all over the place today, but it was worse, ladies and gentlemen. It was way worse. So,
and you can still get that if you're trading those super DGEM plays, which is one of the reasons why I don't recommend that for people. I don't even want to say I try to keep people away from it. I try to really talk about the value of Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe a couple of other top 5, 10.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
If you want to do the super DGEM play, I see so many people getting mad at an influencer because they wrecked them for everything because they mentioned a coin. Well, first off, it's your responsibility for how you're allocating.
Sure.
And you never allocate into something that is, when you have other assets in class that are far less risky and you're putting 100% in this coin, if you're trying to get rich, you're going to be poor. That's what I've learned.
Exactly. And I've been through 3 altcoin seasons, and a lot of people think that, hodling a lot of those riskier ones will pan out in the next bull run. You got it wrong. Because every alt season I've been in, about 85 to 90% of those coins don't make it to the next bull run.
Yeah.
So trade with caution. Definitely, if you're into that. Don't think that your coin is going to be around the next bull run. Bitcoin, I love. Ethereum, of course, is a bellwether. Ironically enough, like I said, I think earlier, Dogecoin and Litecoin will be around, in my opinion, too.
Well, they've
weathered so many.
Dogecoin is the oldest, right?
No, Litecoin.
Litecoin and Dogecoin came about around the same time, didn't they? Mm-mm. When was Litecoin?
Before I got in, a bit before 13.
So like 2011, 12.
11,
yeah,
12.
But then Dogecoin was in that same era.
Dogecoin came out when I got into the space. So
2013.
I would say like late 2013 or maybe 14, early 14, something like that.
So we're just splitting hairs on the amount of time. But,
sure, zooming out.
But
right. Okay. Yeah.
Dogecoin compared to even AVAX. I like AVAX, but Dogecoin has legacy completely over.
It does, guys.
Right? And I used to hate on people for getting involved in Dogecoin.
Sure.
And now the legacy side of it, because of the community that's there and the fact that it may get integrated.
Man.
So what other coins what other coins are you looking at, or projects as not staples in your portfolio, but okay, Bitcoin, Ethereum, what else did you say? You said
Doge. Litecoin. Not a Cardano fan at this point. I think it's overvalued for the mechanics based on what throughput and everything it has currently. I want to see more activity. I think once they get to where their valuation is, it's priced in at that point. So I don't know how much more upside you'll have versus other coins that in the next bull run will do very well. So not a huge fan of that one. Chainlink, man. Chainlink is a sleeper. Still,
it's been ranging for 2 years too.
This is what I'm saying. Chainlink, I don't know when we're putting this out, I might be dating it, but Chainlink is a sleeper. It has maybe the most utility in the space because it's an Oracle type coin. You got to look at those. Like, I like to look at utility, right? How much utility is there? But I also like to look at like blockchain metrics, like how many transactions are going on per 24 hours? What's the throughput? How many can it handle bandwidth wise? Those types of things is what really long-term will make a coin a good play or not.
What's your preferred, I know there's quite a few, but do you have a preferred free utility that people can use to look to that stuff? I know I use stuff, I've used DeFi Llama, I've used some other things, but do you have any other?
DeFi Llama I've used, I like CoinGecko. know if they really particularly have those types of tools, but I use DeFi Llama.
So considering you've been in this space for, I feel like you're a little bit like, I'm gonna have to call you Peepaw, because you've been in this space for a minute, you know?
For sure.
If you think about the lifespan of the crypto environment,
exactly.
from 2008, 2009, you know, coming out 2009, 10, you've been in it longer than, you know, you're probably in the upper 1% of people that have been here. I feel like I've been in a long time because I've been in since 2015, 2016.
That's a long time too.
But you've been through several cycles. You've learned, you've lost.
Yes.
You've gained knowledge. You've lost capital, learned how to not do that.
I lost the most capital in 2017, 18.
But why was that? Just not being risk averse enough, or
too risky?
So not being risk averse enough. You weren't taking profits.
I was, but still, even so, I lost a lot of money. I definitely lost a lot of money. And it was because I held on to a lot of altcoins in that one that literally went to, like, they're not at zero. See, when a coin dies, Kelly, they don't go to zero. People think they're going to go to zero. No, the liquidity just dries up. There's no one to sell to on the other side. Remember, guys, in a market, if you're trying to sell, you got to have a buyer there. If there's no buyer there, the price is going to stay wherever that last buyer stepped in. So that's what happens with most of these coins. So yeah, I lost a lot of money in 18, but that's part of the game, bro. You gotta have a stomach for this. But I will say, going forward, volatility will slow down. It will, gradually get more stable, and you'll almost have a market similar to the FX market. A percent move in the FX market is crazy in a day. If you see a 1% move, it's crazy. Yeah, that's, I think, where we'll get to maybe in the next 5 to 10 years. But volatility is going to definitely be here for a little bit longer.
So I want everybody listening right now to understand what he just said. He just gave you such an important, juicy, and almost secretive little nugget there. And that is, if the market is moving 1% and is huge, this means the level of adoption that has taken place within this space between now and 5 or 8 years, even if it's in 12 years from now, the amount of monetary energy that has come into this space for a 1% move to be the norm means that it is still early.
It's still early.
So with that being said, to wrap this up, I want to say first, thanks for being here.
For sure.
And everybody, if you haven't yet, make sure you check out Crypto Blood on his handle. What is your @ on all of your socials?
At CryptoBlood _ on Twitter. Crypto Blood just on YouTube. That's where I'm most active, though. Those two.
So make sure you give him a follow. I got to ask Peepaw before you go.
Peepaw.
All right.
Like that.
You've been in the space for a long time. There's a lot of people out there with moon vision thinking there's a fractal from the past cycle that means we're about to moonshot. Let's cut the noise.
Yeah.
From a guy that's been there, you've lost it, you've made it. Where do you see the market going between now and July next year?
Well, that's after the halving.
So there's a lot to happen. We have the ETF potentially coming up. Ooh. Is it going to be soon? Is it going to be later? What's happening? Like, where do you see the market going between now?
2024 is what, an election year. So the powers that be want to prop up the equities market, in my opinion. It's actually a term for it, PPT, Plunge Protection Team. Go look that up. They really do exist. I think they will prop up the equities market going into the next election cycle. And
they got cover now too with global conflict.
There you go. No coincidence there. So there are a lot of things that are going to come to head that I think is going to accelerate Bitcoin to all-time highs, past all-time highs, $69,000. I think we'll go for the 100,000. See, markets like to go for psychological whole numbers.
And we're talking about summer next year, or by end of summer?
End of summer. Yep, I think summer going into Q4, somewhere around there. Yeah, psychological whole number of $100,000 Bitcoin. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, guys. That's a big move, and the markets love to go for that. We fell short in the last run, but
because of that, we did fall short, and so many people were expecting it. So many, I mean, which
is how the market works. So now we're going to get it. People are going to think we're going past 100,000.
That was going to be my question. Right. Do you think there's going to be a pretty big, I don't want to even call it a wall. Do you think there's going to be a pretty hefty sort of risk aversion at that 100K round number, maybe even front running a little bit.
So my buddy
gives us a bit
near
of a pullback.
Near and dear to me, Max Kaiser, legend, had him on my show many, many times. He said many years ago, people may not remember this, $100,000 when he's selling his first Bitcoin. So we'll see if he's actually still going to do that. But I think a lot of whales, OG whales, $100,000 is a marker for them. A little alpha for you.
We heard it here first. Actually, no, you heard it on your show many years ago with Max Kaiser. That's why you got to go tune in to Crypto Blood. You've been doing it for a minute. Thank you for being here. It's a great conversation. Got to have you on more often. Everybody, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Drop your comments down below. Where do you think Bitcoin's going to be at the end of summer next year? Hope to see you again in our next video, and hope you have a wonderful time. Get out of the charts. Get into the grass. Big love. Adios, muchachos. Over and out.